The 9 most feared words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help," by Ronald Reagan. After hearing that quote, you will know why Ronald Reagan favored small government and disliked big government. I became interested in politics during the previous election cycle, and one former president that was able to capture my attention was Ronald Reagan, of course. Ronald Reagan is referred to today as an early pioneer of conservative policies that are talked about and used today by many conservative politicians. By the end of my speech, you will be able to understand why he was so beloved by so many Americans, why he was reelected, and why his policies are still useful today. During this speech, I will inform you on why President Reagan was so beloved at the time and still today, why he won re-election, and why his policies are useful by conservatives today. First, the reason why Ronald Reagan was so beloved at the time was because it was a breath of fresh air to the country, and a breath of fresh air in the country in terms of being the newly elected president and being able to deliver his promises along his campaign trail during the election cycle. And it was also the end of President Jimmy Carter's term. After winning re-election in 1984, President Reagan claimed from a History.com article, it was, excuse me, President Reagan claimed, and this is from a History.com article, it was morning again in America, end quote, winning the election by receiving 525 out of 538 electoral votes, the largest number ever won by any presidency. Many Americans at the time were supportive of President Reagan and what he was doing for the country, both foreign and domestically. Next, I'll talk about why Ronald Reagan won re-election in 1984. President Reagan's re-election was able to help him continue his agenda to strengthen the country and combat any outside forces that wish to inflict harm on America and its citizens. One of Reagan's domestic policies was tax cuts. Tax cuts were proposed by President Reagan in order to make sure that those that were in middle class or in lower middle class, or just the lowest of the low tax brackets, would not be taxed more than they needed to be. The tax cuts implemented by Reagan eventually became known as Reaganomics, which is still talked about today amongst many conservative politicians. And this quote here from the History.com article states, including tax cuts to spur growth, eventually became known as Reaganomics, end quote. Reaganomics is still referred to today by many conservatives and implemented as well. Lastly, I will talk about why Ronald Reagan is referred to as an early pioneer of conservatism and still talked about amongst many conservatives to this day. Reagan's legacy as a conservative is still felt today as his policies are implemented by conservatives and still talked about many, many decades after his death. His foreign and domestic policies are implemented by conservatives today and have been proven to be effective. From tax cuts to helping foreign allies in times of need, whether it be a country invading or things of that nature. President Reagan made history by appointing, and this is an excerpt from the History.com article that I did my research on, by appointing Sandra Day O'Connor to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1981 during his first term. Keep in mind that Justice O'Connor was the first female to ever be appointed to our Supreme Court, which is the highest in the land of the United States of America. As I conclude this speech, I hope you were all able to learn a few things about the presidency of Ronald Reagan and why he's still talked about amongst conservatives, and his policies still being effective in this current day and age. To summarize my points on why Reagan was so beloved, him winning re-election, and his policies being useful, I will now end this speech with a very wise quote from our former president, Ronald Reagan. Live simply, love generously, care deeply, speak kindly, and to always leave the rest to God.